If I call someone out, I promise you this, I have a moral right.
Well, that's when you got in all the trouble with GAF, right?
Can't talk about that. So I feel like oftentimes I speak what everybody's thinking, what on everybody's mind. So Lee Haight wanted to fist fight me. He actually, right outside the restaurant, he was drunk, like in my face.
Today's episode's going to be a good one. I have the YouTube OG of the roofing industry, Dmitry Lipinskiy, here with us, founder of Directory, creator of Roofing Insights. He's got all kinds of stuff that he's getting to. We're going to get into some of that today, but welcome to Pittsburgh, man. Thanks for taking some time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
The most controversial man in roofing right now, I feel like. So if you guys are fans of the show and you guys also aren't following the roofing industry, this one may be a little bit too niche for you, but I would strongly pay attention to this episode. There's going to be a lot of value here. Let's get right into it. It seems to me your soul is not at peace unless the world is in chaos. What would you say to that?
Oftentimes things are not what they seem like. If you have to hang out with me to understand me, and there is two versions probably of everyone. One version is what you see online, and another, like, we judge people by our own characters often and our own intentions. Like, for example, if you're a money-driven person and you see someone, let's say, do a giveaway, money-driven person will say, well, he does give away because it's, like, you look at someone like Mr. Beast and you will judge it like, oh, he does it to get rich. But I would argue that Mr. Beast is just altruistic person. Like, but then if you're generous, you will look at it like, oh, he's a nice guy. So we judge others by who we are. So oftentimes people judge me through their own lens. I do like peace, and I'm very calm in general. Like, you can't, if you, like, for example, I'm pretty sure it's going to come up, like, Lee Haight and stuff. Like, that guy wanted to fight me for many years and actually pick up a fight with me. And I don't respond to violence. I don't look for a fight. If fight is not I'm a good fighter, not only physically, but more, like, if you attack me, if you come after me, I'm not a pushover. You're not going to run over me. Like, we will go to court. I will defend myself. You send me cease and desist letter, I'm making video about it. But that it's not because I'm looking for it. It's because I'm reacting to it and I'm not afraid to speak up my mind and get in trouble, where most people will do everything not to even get in trouble. So I just operate differently.
So those two characters, right? Do we see the authentic Dmitry on YouTube
all the time,
or do we see a character that you're portraying?
Here's one thing. Here's my background. I went to college, and not many people know it. So after high school, I went to college 3 years, and it's not part-time. It's not online. It's 3 years, day in and day out. My first degree is I'm supposed to be teacher of theater in a school. So, like, I'm a director. I can take 20 kids and do, like, Romeo Shakespeare, or Juliet Shakespeare on the stage. So that's what I learned. I understand how stage works, and I understand how content game works. I understand how Hollywood works. What people don't understand about content, and people accuse me of it all the time. Joseph Hughes was asking the question about on your post about the drama. Do I like drama? You have to love drama if you're in the content game. Let me explain. Many people look at a content game, like making video, creating podcast, as a mirror of life. What you need to understand, if you do podcast, if you create reels, if you're on it doesn't matter. If you're doing any kind of TV, any kind of content is not a mirror of life. It's magnifier. Like, you have to be dramatic to be interested. Like, there's gotta be conflict. And as a result, like, for example, we just did a news here. So when you in front of audience, you have to speak louder. Sometimes you have to speak slower. You have to exaggerate. Like, if you imagine theater. So you have 500 people in the audience. If I'm saying to you, no, 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 I can't do no, no, no. I have to be like, no, no, no. So the last row sees that no, no, no. I have to go from here to here. So the person that you see on the Facebook is Dmitry who exaggerates, but I exaggerate for it, not to get attention, but for my audience to actually understand. If you watch Hollywood movie, for example, even movies are based on a true story, you know how it's always a little bit exaggerated, but otherwise it's not interested. So when you do, like Gary Vee is master of it. Like you have to exaggerate. Comedians do it. Hollywood actors are doing it. You have to slow it down, dumb it down, and you have to exaggerate the emotion. Otherwise, you're going to be boring and no one will watch anything boring. So what people see online is exaggerated version of Dmitry. And in real life, like I get compliments all the time when people hang out with me. It's like, Dmitry, you're the same guy as I see online, but with less exaggeration, if it makes sense. So yeah. I am more dramatic on camera because you have to be. Otherwise, no one will watch. But it's not faking it. It's just, okay, hey guys, like you have to get, like if you watch like Mr. Beast or most YouTubers, like you have to do it. And you have to practice it. You have to learn how to be more dramatic, more exaggerate, and pinpoint what you're trying to deliver. So
I hear you.
But it's authentic.
Yeah, I do. I actually do believe that. Hanging out with you when I was in Minnesota, you know, definitely saw the calm side of you, the chill side of you, the nice guy version of you, right?
I'm always nice guy.
Yeah, well, I think there's some people out there that will probably disagree with that, but you're right. That could be a reflection of themselves. We'll get into that a little bit, but if you could have the world truly grasp one thing about Dmitry, what would that be?
Explain the question one more time for me. Grasp, like in
grasp, like yeah. So like if you could have the world understand, like the people in the roofing industry understand one thing about you, like what would that be?
My intentions are always to help. Even so, my most controversial content that I always have done is calling out like crooks, like people who steal money, and we caught them. I'll give you an example. Years ago, it was Joshua Wexman. So Joshua Wexman have stole from like 150 contractors. And I tried to connect with him. So I call out, I did like scam alert, guys, be careful with this person. He takes $2,000-$3,000. He was a marketer. $2,000-$3,000 per person. Even when I call a person like that, my number one intention is to help that person. If that person comes to me and say, Dmitry, I want to try to make it right. I want to pay people back. I want to fix my problem. I hold no grudge. Like all the people to this day that I called out, I have no emotions. If people come back to me and they want to have interview with me, they want to talk, doors open, studio is open. If you consider yourself my enemy, you still can come to me and we can work it out. I have zero emotions about there's zero personal hate. It doesn't look like it because what you see, it's passionate reaction to something. But when people, we call out way more people than we actually aired. And oftentimes I'll call a person and say, hey, is this true? And sometimes people are like, yeah, it's true. I'm trying to make it right. All right, brother, I'll help you. And if they settle it, if the person does what he has to do, the right thing, that's it. We're going to I'll never air the story. My job is, first of all, to help that person, by calling out someone. You have to stop the bad behavior. And then you have to make it right. If you stole money from someone, you have to pay it back. There's no other way. But if you don't call them out, they're going to keep stealing more and more and more. And that has to stop.
I think it's hard. Because in the roofing industry, you really are the media channel, right? Like there's not really, there's a bunch of people that have some small podcasts and some stuff, but nobody really doing it at your level. So I think you play a couple different roles in the media. You wear a couple different hats, right? You have your podcast business hats. Like I think you wear a couple different media hats. Like you're the investigative journalist, kind of doing those pieces. You're kind of like I don't know what they call the nice guy when they come in and do the showcases on the on the companies, like the Apple interview that you did with Dustin Bigler. Great.
Company
I
stories.
think everybody loves your company stories. And I think everybody actually loves the investigative journalism side when you dig deep into these scam artists and things like that. I think where a lot of people have a problem is when you start to take a little bit of leeway, maybe more editorial, or maybe like your spin on it, and then you kind of press and kind of make, I don't want to say you're making up stories, but you're really pressing buttons, especially like when you go after manufacturers, most recently suppliers, you really like to stir up the industry a little bit, and it gets people's blood boiling, right? Because it's that's the part where it gets really dramatic, to where it's more you putting the spin on it rather than you just reporting the good and the bad, right? What would you say to that?
Like everyone, I make mistakes. I'm learning. This is new experience for me as well. I don't know it all. This is new journey. And as a creator, so when you put out the content, you have a heart for it. Like, you know what you want to do, but you don't know the reaction. Sometimes you can go back and edit, or it's not like you're making a mistake, but you pivot too. So if you make 100 videos, you can go back and say, all right, this was good and I want to make more of this. Actually, in my company, we've made conscious decisions. Like, we've went for 2-3 months and we have meetings with the team and say, for the next 2 months, we're not going to call anyone out. We're not going to do anything. Like, this is the focus for the next couple of months. So as a content creator, I have a right to do the content that I love, like personally. And sometimes it can be personal because you're a YouTuber. You're documenting your journey. You can share your takes. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not like I'm getting paid by Fox News and I have a boss. Like, I'm the boss. This is my channel. If I want to do something, I have a right to do it.
Yeah.
And so, you know what's funny? I'll tell you this one thing. So people often, what people don't know or don't realize, people judge me for stories that I run and for stories that I don't run. And stories that I don't run sometimes hurt even more. Like, if I show you my DMs, it's insane. People will text me, it's like, why don't you call, like, I'll give you one. Why don't you call out Heath Hicks? He's your buddy. He lost the judgment. Why don't you call him out? I'm like, guys, I'm getting freaking judgments every single day. If I do that every day, that's going to be like my full-time job. I'm not willing. I set up a precedent. I'll pick, like, I want to run a story so people know there's a media company and you can get called out. And I think that drives the behavior. Adam Sand said it best. He said, every time I do something, I'm like, would Dmitry call me out for this? Like, I'm like this person.
Well,
right?
They're afraid. People are afraid.
Not even afraid.
Yeah,
They're thinking about it. Like, if I do this, would Dmitry, like, so I want it, and I like it. I like that being kind of standard. But here's the thing: when I don't run a story, people judge me. It's like, hey, why don't you do that? Why don't you call out Heath Hicks? And my answer to it: listen, this is my channel. You have the same, like, maybe you have lesser audience, but you have a phone. You have YouTube is free. Facebook is free. If you know the information, if you're so bold and think that, like, let's say Heath Hicks deserves to be called out, go make a video about it. Why do you?
Well, it feels like you just did that.
And I'm okay with it. Like, and I can mention it. I love Heath Hicks and I've seen the articles and stuff, but I don't have to run every story. But see, the thing is, people will call me out for stories I run, for the stories I don't run, for everything. People will judge you. No matter what you do, you will be judged. So you might as well do what you feel is right.
We know you owned a roofing company. I don't think that's a secret. I think that a lot of your audience, I've been to your conference. I see the people that comment in your Facebook group. It seems like a lot of the contractors that follow you, are similar to you, and they're like that underdog story, right? They're having to fight through the hard battle to become successful. Let's talk a little bit about your background. You mentioned you grew up in Russia. I don't know if you mentioned that, but obviously it's pretty obvious with the little. You still got that little Siberian twang. Tell us about like your past. Tell us about the stories from Russia. Tell us what it was like to move over here. Give me a little bit of background on that.
So I grew up very poor, oldest of 7 kids. When I graduated high school, we still lived in 1-bedroom apartment with 7 siblings.
In Siberia?
In Siberia, 7 siblings.
What's poor? Describe poor, because poor is relative.
Like, very poor. Like, I was sharing actually today. So in Russia, back in the day, today is probably a little bit different. So people drink beer in bottles, right? Like glass. You can collect those bottles, wash them, and there's a exchange places. So when I grew up, number one revenue stream for bums on the street. So the poor people, like bums, homeless, they would go pick up, like people in Russia, in Siberia, at least at that time, they drink and they drop bottles everywhere. So it's mess. Like, you go through the city, garbage places, parks, like pretty much you have beer bottles. 10 beer bottles, empty glass bottles, would, if you turn them in, it's enough to buy one loaf of bread. So as a 12, 13-year-old kid with a backpack, I would go garbage place to garbage place, parks, like pretty much you have your routine. You know where people drink beers and you collect them. But I was competing with the homeless people in my town. I knew all the homeless people.
Who was scrappier?
Exactly.
The homeless people were scrappier than the poor people, or
homeless people, they still need money, so there's no government support. And
how
stuff.
are you homeless in Siberia? Isn't it really cold in there?
Yeah, but you have concrete buildings.
Oh, okay.
So you live like in the basements of the. You know,
all right, I got you.
But anyway,
so they're not freezing cold outside. They'd be dead, right? Yeah.
Typical story for me from those years. I would get and save enough money from beer bottles, and I would buy my sister a hat. She didn't have a hat. 25 rubles. My dad was always gone, and my dad was working, but they would pay you like 6 months, once a year. Like sometimes a year and a half, he wouldn't get paid. And
you'd be doing stories on that company, wouldn't you?
Well, that's my background. So my mom would go to those bosses, try to like beat them freaking up. My mom would walk into big oil boss and say, "I'm a mother of 7. If I get in your face right now with this class, they will not get me off you. I'll mess you up. I'm not living without money, and no one will send me to jail because of mother of 7. I'm a condition of affection. You better pay my husband." So my mom was borrowing money, was going office to office to trying to get paid, and my dad, for months at a time, was miles and miles away working on the oil rigs, like with the dump trucks, and I was the oldest. So I had to take care of, we were very poor. Like it was
like, how much money, like in American dollars, would your dad make in a year?
I mean, at that time,
ballpark, just to give everyone a little sense of.
I mean, $100 a month at that time. I mean, we're talking about like late 90s, early 2000s.
That's not that long ago, man.
Yeah, per year, maybe like $5,000 a year. $10,000 a year, $200
wow.
per month was like very good salary.
Wow. So, and your mom was tough as nails, it sounds like.
100%.
What about your dad? Like, what's your dad like?
Hard-working man, work all his life, provide for the family, but yeah.
You think your mom's tougher though?
Yeah, she's a general. She has no limits. She has no filters. I'm a fighter, more like my mom. I grew up with her, but I'll give you one story. I was in university. I'm 1,000 miles away. I'm in university. This man was hired my dad. Year and a half later, him and 20 people who work under my dad did not get paid. The guy runs for mayor of the city. My mom is like, this is messed up. Call the news. So go to his apartment and pretty much boycott it. Say, like, call the news company. Say, my family goes on a strike. My family will not eat until this bullshit happens in our town, because he owes like so many people money. And I'm talking about big money. So they're building like big bridge and stuff. And I'm in my university, 1,000 miles away. And the story goes on the news, in the regional news. My dean called me and said, "Dmitry, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, fine." My family did not call me. They did not want me to know. It's like, "We've seen your family on the news." I'm like, what the heck? So I called them up. My sister was like, "Don't worry, we're eating. This is just for the cameras." And that guy did not get elected because, he was a douchebag. But in Russia, the reason they don't pay, because they collect, they invest the money, and then they run for like mayor office, very corrupt. And my mom literally called the news and say like, this is BS, this is not going to happen, and give him like negative coverage.
How do you think that, watching all that when you're a kid, adolescent, in Russia, watching the way the news is, the corruption, how do you think that transfers over to the way you act today? And when you called that guy a douchebag, do you think anybody's ever called you a douchebag over here?
For what?
I don't know.
Listen,
I'm curious.
I've been in business for 15 years. You cannot find one person that if I call someone out, I promise you this, I have a moral right and like to do so. And I'll explain. I don't give marriage advice. I don't give any, like, if I don't feel like I'm good example in that area, I'm not going to talk about it. Right. So I know I've never let anyone not getting paid. And I've been in business for 15 years. I will sell my car. I will sell freaking personal items, but I will get you paid. That's why I'm sensitive to it. So those stories affected me because I know how it feels. For me, stealing from hardworking people is one of the biggest sins in life, especially people who have kids. I mean, and I help those people a lot today. So for me, it's not acceptable, but I can call it out because I've never done it.
And I get that, and that's fine for those types of people. But you also sometimes, again, take liberties where I feel like you're calling out other people, not necessarily for stealing money or not paying people, but it's that same type of drama or that same type of pressure. It's like that. It's almost comes across with the same type of attitude, right? Like when you do the stories on manufacturers or distribution, and so like I think that's where kind of like the lines are blurred because we're not used to in America someone like you, right? Especially in the roofing industry, and so it really you kind of stick out, which I think is good for the attention part. There's double-edged swords, but back to your family in Russia. What I know that. I know you got your brother over here. I remember that story, and I met your brother when I was in Minneapolis. You said you were 7 kids, right? And so there's 5 other kids. Where are they all at? Is everybody here now? Is everybody?
So my brother's here, 2 my younger sisters. So 3 youngest are here, and 3 other sisters are still over there.
How'd you get here?
Through program. It was like summer program. So pretty much come here for 4 months, work in a summer camp, Wisconsin, Ojibwa, pretty much kitchen staff. Get paid like $1,500 for 3 months worth of work and then go back. But except I didn't want to go back. When I left, I said, I'm not coming back. So I have a round trip. So I have a ticket back. And I told my family, I told everybody in my university, I am not coming back. And they're like, what are you going to do there? I'll figure it out. I didn't know friends. I didn't know family. I didn't have anyone here. And after the summer camp in Wisconsin, you have extra months to travel. Came to Chicago. I slept in a car for the first month. Couldn't afford anything. Ran out of money. Got a first job, $6 an hour, daily department. And the rest is history.
What year was that?
2005.
Wow.
So 17 years ago. And later got married. My wife is Russian, but she's been here longer. She been here since 1999. All her family is here. And married her, got 5 kids later, 5 businesses, 5 kids, living the American dream.
Wow. Last question on Russia. What's the worst thing that you ever seen over there? What's the worst experience that you ever had, whether it was a kid or as an adolescent? Like, what is?
I've seen people killed. Like I lived in like the town I went to college. It was it was 2 people stabbed that year. Like 2 taxi drivers got like killed with the knives. It was very typical. I came to the United States with a big scar on my face, like
Scarface, like Tony Montana.
Yeah, like if my roommate goes like to grocery store and not back in 15 minutes, I go after him. So like we lived on an 8th floor. You know, you can go down to a grocery store, come back, and you see like person in the like to give you the like American experience to where I went to college, like projects. Like Chicago projects, very similar. Big buildings, a lot of movements, drugs, fighting. That's kind of like Russian versions of projects. So that's, I've been, I'll give you an example. I would be running, like I was always in sports. I would be running like 6 a.m, just like, you run on the street. And on other side of the street would be like 3 or 4 guys like drinking. And they're like, hey, are you in sports? And like start throwing rocks at you.
Wow.
I mean, and I remember like, who the heck would throw rocks at a person who just runs by? But like, that's my student years. You can just do nothing, mind your own business, running on the streets and 6 a.m. and people throw rocks at you. Like you don't experience that here, but it was brutal.
How long did it take for you to like kind of, I don't know, get under your feet while you're over here in America? When did you start the roofing company? Did YouTube come first before the roofing company, or did you start roofing and then say I got to be on YouTube? Or
so about 3 years. So when I moved here, I still had 3 years left in university. I told everyone, I'm gonna spend 3 years in the United States, figure out what I want to do, like as far as like trades. Like I did not know if I'm gonna be a trade. Like I did not know what to do, but I gave myself 3 years to pick a profession. And after 3 years, I realized it's going to be construction. So I've done cabinets, I've done tile, bathroom remodeling. I worked for builders and stuff. 2013, I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Minneapolis, and I started a roofing company. And in 2014, 13, 14, I started a YouTube channel for that roofing company. As a matter of fact, my first viral videos was all roofing related. And the reason is, for YouTube channel, I didn't have money to advertise. It was just pure research. Like, I realized how much traffic I can get to my website. I built my first website and I started YouTube channel, and my goal was to have a YouTube video for every page of my website, and it worked. I did miracles. I never have problems with the leads from the day one. I did $900,000 in sales first year, 1.3 second, then 2.5, 3.9, keep growing from there. But leads are always been there for me. Organic content, YouTube, Facebook, Angie's List back in the day. That's how I grew. That's how I built that baby.
Now, you started that in 2014, you said?
13.
13. And when you sold your company? When did you sell
2020.
it? 2020. So
Yep.
you did roofing for 7 years as
Yep.
a company.
Yep.
So I started my company in 2015, so a little bit after yours. What was the hardest part of starting a roofing company and like trying to get it past like, $3 million in revenue?
Personal development. I think it's, I was trying to do everything by myself. I did not know how to sell. I didn't know how to hire people, trust people. Hired very first sales rep, and after 2 weeks, he was claiming $60,000 in sales commissions. I'm like, based on what numbers? Like, sales guys are so delusional. We split fine, but fighting salespeople and just growing it. Like, I follow Rodney Webb after like 2 years because I hit like 1.3, 1.5. I'm like, I need help. I need a mentor. And I follow Rodney Webb everywhere. Like, if I see Rodney Webb in town, like I fly there, and like I was soaking in all the knowledge I could get and delegate, like figure out this game, because I knew I can't do it all. So that was the hardest.
And you said you did like 900, 1.1. What was the
1.3? Then we did 2. After Rodney Webb, I think third year we did 2.5, and then we jumped to 3.9 and was cruising like 4 to 5.
That's cool. Everybody always wants to know. That's when I was doing research for the show, that was one of the most popular questions. How much revenue did Dmitry really do? And there's a lot of controversy out there because some guys think that you only did 1 million. Some guys think you did 3 million. You say you did 5 million.
Listen, I have 500 people visited my shop. So I started doing classes in 2018.
And I remember Gino told me about that.
So they came in and I never charged people. Like, they literally first class, 50 people. I showed my QuickBooks. They met my team. What was beautiful about Storm Group, that company was operating without me. And I tell everyone, like, I was forced to do that. Like, demand for education was so big. That's how online roofing school was born. So people were DMing me like, how do you do? And when I showed them, like, guys, like, we were getting like 1,600 leads per year. That's a lot of leads. And I would show people, I think 2018 numbers was like, clear profit was like $270,000, which is 7%, but that's after Roofing Insights expenses. Without Roofing Insights, it would be like 12, 13%. And I did 10 classes. So 10 times 40, 50 people flew to Minneapolis, met my team, my supplementer, if anybody would call me fake, or anybody would call me that it's not legit, like, I have like 500 people who would go defend myself and say, no, this is real. We've seen his company. But what I liked about it, that we didn't have high turnover. Those guys, those sales reps, they were working for me, for years. They were making, 80 to 100. Like, I pay my GM $120,000. I pay people anywhere from $80 to $120,000 a year. That's a good salary. I mean, I remember myself making like $60,000, $70,000, and now you pay someone 80 grand and it's a salary, not even based on performance.
Yeah.
I love it. So, my tech guys worked for me for 5 years. It was very steady. Like, my goal was always, and maybe it's because of my childhood, to have a paycheck on Friday. When I work for someone, this is how I start in my business. I work for a builder in Atlanta. The guy files bankruptcy. Very sad story. Didn't pay me for a couple of weeks. He owed me like $3,500, and that's at the time.
Should have stuck your mom on him.
So no, I was cool. Like, I was actually friendly. I settled for like $1,500. Wish him the best. I still would meet him today, go for lunch. Like, I understand the hardship, but the guy lost everything. filed bankruptcy. I came home and I told my wife, I will never work for anyone else. I'm going to go on my own. And I never did. It was 2008 or 2009. And I always wanted just to have solid paycheck. As a matter of fact, for the next 15 years, me being a business owner, every Friday I pay myself the same amount. So if it's $1,000 every Friday, is like, I don't care if I have $150,000 on account. If we go on vacation stuff, I'll write me $5,000 I don't know, bonus and we'll go on vacation. But my wife to this day gets a salary check every Friday. Doesn't matter what Roofing Insights does, doesn't matter what Directory does. I mean, my salary grew from like $1,000 a week in 2013 to $2,200 a week in 2018. Now I have 5 kids. I have a little bit bigger house, and $2,200. I mean, I'm transparent. I make $150,000 a year. That's a good salary for me. But I pay people well. I have very good lifestyle. I'm with the kids all the time. Friday paycheck is always there. You give 10% to the God. You save 10%. It's a good lifestyle. And if someone says like, no, you could do more, you're like, no, you don't have to. You reinvest in yourself. I never forget where I come from. In 2013, I have one vehicle and I pay myself $1,000 a week. Yeah. So now I have, and people always say, how can I become like, I have like 4 trailers stolen in like 5 years, like gutter trailer, regular trailers. And I said, well, because I remember when I have Volkswagen Jetta and nothing else. I mean, you can come and steal everything from me, and tomorrow I'm going to go and rebuild it. Like that, I cannot control it. That cannot control my emotion. It'll piss me off if you did not sweep these floors because you could sweep the floors. That pisses me off. Mm-hmm. But if you steal my trailer or my tools, I cannot fix it. I cannot control it. I'll file a report, but I'm not going to dwell on it because I remember one time we have 2 vans and they broke locks on the back and they wiped it off. Like all the very expensive Milwaukee tools, drills, nail guns, $15,000 worth of tools. My guy's like spitting crazy, like, and I'm like, guys, we have a couple work orders. We have 3 weeks worth of repairs to do, like backlog. Go to Home Depot, like you have a credit card. Go to Home Depot, buy the tools you need for today. And I remember my general manager said, like, how can you be so calm? And I was like, because I have a job to do. I can't fix it. Like, I still have to make money, and we're going to rebuild it.
So you're paying yourself a salary, which I think is pretty good. That's what I do. I pay myself a salary. I like that steady paycheck coming in. And then whatever's left over is what we call profit, right? What were those profit? Everyone talks about revenue going up. Did the profit go in that same line, or like what? Give me some ideas of like the profit was left over, the net profit.
It really depends. Like I just remember, so first 3 years when I started a YouTube channel for Roofing Insights, Storm Group Roofing, my roofing company, gave birth to Roofing Insights. So I decided to separate it. I got an office in downtown, $2,000 a month office. I hired full-time videographer.
What year was that?
2018.
Okay. So kind of in the middle of your roofing ownership career.
5 years, gotcha. Yep. So now I have overhead, I have expense. Of course, I would use labor, like my video guy would do.
Yeah, both, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm kind of the same way right now. So
yeah,
it's like
but because of that, I have 7% net profit.
Yeah.
So we did like $270,000 profit.
But you were investing in a Roofing Insights with the same money.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of like what Big Fish is doing with my podcast. Yeah, I get it.
In 2020, I actually did a big pay cut, if you think about it. So I sold my roofing company in 2020.
How much? Everybody wants to know that too. How much you sell the roofing company for? With all this talk of private equity and all this talk about, because you were one of the first ones that sold a roofing company probably that we know about.
I sold it to my general manager. So I didn't sell it. Like I could get way more.
It's just a number. How much did you get?
I'll put it this way. I didn't have to work for like maybe 3-4 years. Like I could live with. Like I could retire.
150 times 4, so 600,000.
I'm not gonna share the number.
Just that's probably the right number.
It doesn't matter how much I sold it.
I know, but but we're business people, and actually it does matter. I think because at the end of the day, we're in business to like turn a profit, and if we want to sell something, we want to make money. So how much did you sell?
For me, it was a strategic decision.
Told me I could ask you anything. You did say I could ask you anything,
and I don't have to answer everything.
You sure don't. You sure don't. All right.
So here's what I did. I sold the company to go because when I sold it, Roofing Insights was not profitable. I did not monetize, didn't make $1 from it. Here's what I did. I came to my very first sponsor, Job Nimbus. And at that point...
Hey, Job Nimbus, you got to pay me for that name drop, by the way.
So look, at that point, I've been promoting Job Nimbus for a couple of years because I was a user.
I'm on AccuLinks, by the way.
And I knew that Job Nimbus was getting a lot of business for me, right? So I came to them and say, for $5,000 a month, if you sponsor my show, I'll do this, this, and this. So I did like a media kit. And they agreed. It was like the greatest
You always remember your first sponsor. You remember your first roof sold, or probably you remember your first sponsorship
Exactly.
sold?
So my revenue, I mean, think about it. You're doing $5 million a year, like, you know,
Yeah.
a year, and now you go to $5,000. I did not know how to monetize roofing inside. You think roofing is tough? Go open YouTube channel, try to figure that out. There's no books. I mean, there are people who can kind of guide you, but it was a new thing. But you have expenses, you have everything, and so I did about $1 million in sales at the Roofing Insights on the year 2, I believe.
So what? 19 or 20? Yeah.
No, it was after I sold the company, 2021.
Oh, okay. Really, after COVID.
Yeah, 2020 is where I go full time.
Gotcha.
So I'm like brand new in this.
Because you were kind of doing videos for homeowners basically to get leads, right? Like, but you were also then making content kind of for roofers as well.
Yeah, it's a dual audience.
Yeah.
So I serve both homeowners and contractors.
Well, that's when you got in all the trouble with GAF, right?
Can't talk about that.
Seriously? Like, I didn't know. Like, I don't know. I was still head down working back in 2018, 19. So I don't really know about all that stuff. All I do know is that I'm a GAF master lead contractor. I love GAF.
Good for you.
But so you're not actually allowed to talk about it due to legal reasons.
Legal reasons can't talk about GAF.
Are you allowed to say the word? You must be allowed to say GAF.
I mean, we can review the product there.
I saw a product video that you did maybe a year ago that you rated them 4.7 or 4.5 stars.
They're in our shingle guide.
I was surprised to see that because I was like, is he allowed to do that?
I can't single them out, but as long as it like for example, if you weigh the shingles, like I cannot single out a JF. Let's put it that way.
Was that in the actual like letter that you guys?
That's the agreement.
Did you guys settle?
Yeah, we settled.
Gotcha. And you're probably and you love those like cease and desist legal things. It seems like, right? Like, do you think GAF put you on the map as far as a content creator? Do you think you needed that? Like that was like your coming out moment, right?
I don't know.
I think so. I mean, when I look back and I studied this and I interviewed a lot of people before I did this show, I was thinking about it. I was like, man, some people can either like, hit the lottery and make it big, or somebody can like go and like have a big failure or like some type of controversy. And it seems to me, as far as content goes, that was the piece of spicy content. And I don't even know what it was. I just know that like, I'm sure the videos got taken down. I'm sure that you're not.
Arnold Schwarzenegger says like, when someone tells you you cannot do something, it's a great motivator. And I'm like that. If someone comes after me and say, you can't do that, you can't if someone challenges me, like I'm a fighter. Like if I believe that what I do is right, I'm going to fight, I'm going to stand up. Many people will not do that piece of content, will not even go. And for me, it's like, no, I'm going to go. I'm not going to. And I think that's what made my name. Just accepting the fight, fighting it. Not only with that, but like, I have several fights like that. Being bold.
Yeah, I know, but that was the first one, right? Is there a time limit on that? Like, is there like an expiration date of like when you will be able to like share that information or talk more about it or maybe make a video about it?
I'll put it this way. We settled with the JF for good. I've learned a lot of lessons from my mistakes. I definitely made mistakes in that case. How like I would not approach it the same way as I approached it back then. I look at JF differently.
Good or bad? When you say differently, I don't know.
I think it was a lot personal for me. It was a very personal. I took it personally, and I also was puzzled about the whole, like corporate America. Like you always hear, like America runs on lawyers, right? And sometimes people sue in America just because they can. And even right now, like Lee Haight, he serves me with a cease and desist. And I'm pretty sure we will talk about it. But for me, like, I love America for freedom of speech. I love that you can do, like in Russia, you cannot say bad thing about president. Here, you can go say F Biden and
Well, you're not going to
think-
go to jail, but you could but when you do something like that in business, though, I mean, there could be a money consequence for it. I mean,
of course.
So that's what freedom means in America. You're just not going to go to jail for your speech.
Yes, but
that doesn't mean you're not going to have to pay in business court.
But you still should be able to review products, and as long as it's like opinion, you can share your opinion, right?
Yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I would not say I'm a professional. I would say I like to create content, but I probably don't know enough about that. But you probably learned a lot of lessons, is what you're saying.
But think about like Elon Musk, Tesla. So Wall Street Journal wants to review Tesla, and it breaks on them, and they put Tesla on a tow truck and put it on the front page, like this is the result of our Tesla test drive. What do you think Elon Musk think about it? Like, it's hard. It's like, shit, I gave them a car to test, and now it's a bad publicity.
Sure.
But they have the right to do it. You can't. Elon Musk cannot just go.
Sure.
So you have to like.
But there's got to be a way that you're doing it, and I guess almost like a scientific controlled environment to where there's like rules of engagement. Maybe
you're the consumer. And
well, you obviously aren't. You weren't able to do it, and you obviously settled, and there's obviously an issue. So like something happened.
It's different. So let me explain. Not only about JF, but Owens Corning, they all have the same clauses. So in roofers, and this is my problem with the roofing industry in general, roofers have agreements with let's talk about Owens Corning. Owens Corning has it. So as an installer, let's say you're platinum installer for OC, you have agreement with OC, not to, like, let's say your roof fails, like major failure. In that agreement, there is going to be a clause that you cannot talk about it. You cannot make a video about it. You can't imagine if if Toyota breaks down on you, and like on the highway, and like you should be able to write a review about it. But as an installer who signed the agreement with the manufacturer, you can't make any content because it's going to be disparaging to the brand.
But you signed that, and you entered into that agreement.
How many people know about it?
Well, that doesn't matter. You signed an agreement. Why are you signing agreements that you don't read?
I agree.
I mean, come on, man.
I agree.
We're in business.
But I agree. But that's the problem, that many don't realize what they can and cannot do. But I also can tell you, sometimes those manufacturers, here's the one story for you. A roofer does apartment complex, major failures, files a claim, he is not certified. The rep comes out, is like, we're going to take care of it, but I need you to sign this paperwork, make you certify. And the roofer is like, heck no, I'm not signing it. You're going to pay for it regardless. So manufacturers play in the game, making you sign.
We don't know that, so we can't.
We do.
I don't know.
I
that,
don't.
so.
I'm telling you right now.
I'm just saying.
I feel like that's.
I know, but like that's. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that based on. That's one story, right? So whatever. Well, we're gonna move on from
when you say that. We don't sign if you don't know. I'm telling you, if roofers knew the fine print, and this is my job, I've educated roofers.
But that's like Facebook. When you go to say I want to use Facebook, and like all like the stuff that's on there and all the 100%. User agreements. So click here, and we're in a speed economy where we're just clicking buttons to get to the next thing because we're jonesing for what's next behind what's next behind that button.
Well, I'll put it this way: not everything that big corporations put on the fine print can be in fine print. That's why Facebook pays millions of fines to some countries. And if one of the reasons I've been hating as much, because when you bring it up, those corporations can be investigated and those contracts can be challenged. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's pivot a little bit to the roofing school, because I feel like that was probably your next move. Kind of like, did you start that after you sold your company? Did you have that going while you had your company?
I have the company.
I know you were doing trainings and you're having people over, and that was kind of good.
It was right about the same time, towards the end of it. I think it started in 2019.
I feel like it's weird because like I have that same type of heart, like where I want to like help other entrepreneurs and contractors. There's been a lot of contractors here in the Pittsburgh area where I'll invite them over. We'll do some trainings together. When did you first realize that like, wow, like this is needed, this is a service, I can make money doing this? Like, when did you figure all that out? 2019,
when I started doing pretty much, even to this day, I do a lot of free content, but demand for paid is so great. Like I give it like I talked to a contractor in Seattle. He said he started his business 6-7 years ago, and he pretty much watched all of my videos, company stories, everything, and he applies it. He said it's so deep, so big, like no one does it. Like you do it, like you don't ask for sales, you just share the knowledge, and then when you do that, some stuff you can't share on Facebook, like on YouTube. If I come to you and I say, how much you pay your sales guys? You're probably not going to be comfortable to share it on the YouTube. But if it's private, if it's password protected, like online school, now we can do that,
When there's your Facebook group, everybody asks almost every day, what do we pay sales guys?
Exactly. But in the roofing school, we have content like that. So I
Yeah.
separated, say, guys, like $49 a month, you can learn all of that, like a little bit deeper. And I started doing actually two versions. Like I would go to Apple Roofing and I would do 45-minute Apple Roofing interview or story on YouTube. And then I would do like 1 hour, like extra 15 minutes with the secret information for a roofing school. So like full behind the scenes content. And if you want to know how much Apple Roofing pays their guys or their numbers, now you have access to it. So that's like, I needed a channel to protect the companies I'm going to, because I wasn't getting paid by going to Apple Roofing. I was not charging them, but I was sharing information with others, and demand was so big. People started offering me money to talk to me back in 2018. It's like, hey, can I pay you $200 for like 1 hour of your time? I have a couple of questions. Because if you arrived where people are trying to go, you're with a shortcut. They want to talk to you. I'm like, sure. So roofing school was born.
What did you like better? So you had the roofing company, you had the YouTube thing going a little bit, you had the roofing school. Like at that point in time, like right around, let's just say COVID 2020, what did you like the best?
So I'm a teacher by trade. Like ever since I was a 13-year-old kid, I always wanted to teach. And actually in my family, two of my sisters become teachers, and history major was like, I was going to be history teacher in school. And now I teach roofers. Like I still teach. I love, like whether I get paid or don't get paid, it doesn't matter.
Then why charge them?
Huh?
Then why charge them?
Well, you have to make a living, right? So, but
you have a roofing company. You're making a bunch of money with your roofing company. You're starting to get paid a little bit off of YouTube, little sponsorships.
You have to pivot. Like sometimes in life, you see the clear direction. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger book, Total Recall, and Arnold says it best. Like there's a journey on his journey on Netflix. Arnold first became bodybuilder, and then he won all the titles. He was like, what's next? Now he become Hollywood actor, then later governor. Sometimes you go, what's next? I felt personally in my roofing business that I achieved it all. It was like, it's not like I lost the drive, but I figured it out. I know the business. At that point, it didn't matter to me to build $100 million company, $50 million company. I knew if I put effort, if that's what I want, I could do it. Because if you run 5 sales reps and do $5 million a year, you can run 50 sales reps and do $50 million. It's a numbers game. I mean, you can give it 10 years, let's say.
Okay, good.
But if you go all in and you can figure, I mean, once you start going to companies, you're like, oh, that's how they do it. But my problem was, I did not see my future. I did not see myself. It wasn't my vision.
What do you say to all these guys now in Facebook world that are like, those who can't do teach? And like, because there's a lot of haters out there, right? That say like, oh, Dmitry, he never grew a company past 5 million. He's teaching everybody else how to do it. And what do you say to that?
Again, you have to know me. Like people, you need to understand, like I'm not a money driven person, never been. Like for me, I have a paycheck on Friday. Like cars don't motivate me. Expenses, like I don't know what, like even if I have $1 million right now, like in a bank sitting like as a bonus, whatever, like I don't know what to do. Like I'm not gonna go and spend it all. I'm not gonna start going on vacation. And like I truly enjoy the hard work. Like I'm a mission driven person. And when you're a mission driven person, you do what satisfies you. Otherwise, you're gonna get depressed. When I started making money, you could make more money, but you have to do what satisfies you. And for me, when I do YouTube video, like for example, we just filmed the news here, by the way, thank you for your office for that.
Invoice coming.
It gives me like, and it was like that even when I was running my roofing company. I could be driving to my office with $100,000 checks in my pocket, no emotions. Like we signed a deal. Like,
well, that's because you grew up in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. I didn't have anything, and we grew up in America, where like that's all they talk about. It's money, money, money.
But look. If no emotions, but then I would make YouTube content, like YouTube video, how to open a company, and I would have goosebumps. Like when you help a person, when I help another immigrant to go from being a tradesman to start a company, to set up a QuickBooks, set up CRM, whatever, I know his life is going to be changed. When you take that journey, you can't compare it to anything. Like it's like when you have a teacher's heart, like teachers are in all countries are the poorest people among all intelligence, right? So like like smart people, like doctors make money, lawyers make money, teachers never make money, but they're as educated and as smart. But it just, when you pour our, some people, most people think that teachers are not deserved to have like $150,000 salary. And teachers, if you look at the salary, like $40,000 for what they do, it's crazy. I go to see teachers who pour hearts into my kids, and I almost feel bad. I almost want to tip them. I always want to
get them a Christmas present. That's what they want. Get a little Starbucks card.
We will. But you get the idea. So for me, I was not satisfied. Like for me, like running a roofing company.
Do you guys believe this, by the way? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to comment below if you're watching on YouTube, and I want you to tell me right now, do you believe all this stuff that this guy's saying right now? Because there's a lot of controversy out there. We're going to get to that. We have a topic about Lee Haight coming up.
Sure.
We have this new spicy video about distribution and all the suppliers, and that greedy video with that where did you get that image of that big guy with like money and like, is that a stock photo?
I don't know. It's just my,
yeah, I don't know, man. That graphic designer, I think, caught everybody's attention. But I want to know what you guys think so far. We're going to get into some other stuff. But back to the teaching. One last question on this. Who are some of the best coaches, trainers, teachers that you respect in our roofing industry right now?
I like Jim Johnson. I like Adam Bensman. I love Sam Taggart. He's more on the door knocking side. Like those. John Sinek is amazing. There's plenty. There's plenty of guys in their own category. I'm going to Vince Perry event. He's a public adjuster. He's a great guy. I mean, there's a lot of good events, but I think top, Adam Bensman, John Sinek, Jim Johnson, very humble, very like I love Rodney Webb, anything Rodney Webb, also very controversial, but I love everything Rodney Webb. Same thing.
Did you take the book with all the pictures in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing Rodney Webb at James Hardy, and I was like, man.
No, Rodney Webb is the best.
I said to be able to pull that off, like what he does in the home. I mean, like, yeah, it's not for everybody. That's for sure.
It's not for everybody. He's controversial, but Rodney Webb is, for me, top on the line.
Who's your favorite marketer in the roofing industry, or who's some of your top marketers that you think are?
I don't follow marketers in the roofing industry, though. I don't. I go elsewhere. I always tell people I drink and eat outside of the industry, and I pour back. So I don't go, like I go to other country, content marketing world, YouTube conferences and stuff. You know, people like Gary Vee. I follow like Alex, Harmozy. So I go to other conferences.
I gave him the acquisition.com hat too. This is for him. There you go, buddy.
Love it.
All right. So what drives your decision to make content? Like, I got a question from somebody, and they're like, does being the righteous white knight or the number of views and followers that you can get, like what's more important to you, being the righteous white knight or the number of views and followers that you can get? Like what drives it for you?
It's truly supply and demand. So like Marcus Sheridan has a book, They Ask You Answer. So I pay attention to the conversation. I always create videos that I know my audience wants to watch. So like I always think about, what people want like this week, like what's trending. Like I'm always on top, like I'm reading, I'm watching lots. So for me, like video has to be born. You don't do videos like, as a matter of fact, calling out people and do controversy never gets likes. Like if you want to views and likes, you will do, like my top videos are my guides, like product reviews and stuff like that. So those are everlasting videos. If I want to views, I will make more of those. Because when you call someone out, let's say like Joshua Waxman is a crook, that video has a potential of 10,000 views. But it's important video to make today to stop that guy from, screwing contractors. Or like website company that goes around, doesn't deliver services, right? So for me, it's trending right now. Everybody's talking about this company. People begging to make content about it, and I'm gonna make content about it. So for me, it's never about attention, but it's always about being relevant and just, when you committed to do 3-4 pieces of content per week, you have to be relevant, and that's the most important thing.
We do a lot of volume, especially for people in the roofing industry. Gary Vee says, well, make 75 pieces of content a day. Well, that's like a full-time job with 28,000 people working for you. But you do a lot of content. What are some of your biggest milestones as a YouTuber?
100,000 subs were a big milestone.
How long did it take to get you to 1,000?
Like a year.
Yeah. And then how long to get you to 10,000 after that?
Couple years probably.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the journey,
I'm just
but
curious.
it took us 5 years to get to.
Yeah, I'm always super curious about YouTube because unfortunately, because I had my head down, I didn't catch that YouTube wave. Like I was more Facebook. I feel like YouTube was a little bit before Facebook, and I was busy working and surviving, so I didn't really get the YouTube thing. So I'm still trying on YouTube. So if you could help me out, subscribe on my YouTube channel would be great. Who's some of the people that you admire in content creation, whether it's, like in all industries? You mentioned Gary and Alex Hormozy, but like who else from back in the day maybe that inspired you to get started?
Johnny Harris does a lot of very cool documentaries. I love true crime videos. Like I love those stories, like how they tell them. 60 Minutes. I watch a lot of documentaries. Another one, what's the name of it? It'll come back to me in a second. Oh, I like CNBC. Like I like newsy but investigative, like American Greed, one of my favorite shows.
I got you.
Like
it shows. Definitely in your content. Who do you think your content appeals to? Like who's your audience? Like specifically.
I always talk about it. Like for years, it was Nate Schweppe. So you do the videos for one person. Like Nate Schweppe was my person. I switched them last year.
I just met his wife, by the way. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, she's great. Leah is good. So I was in a YouTube conference 2 years ago, and this lady said, like, when you create content, you have to have an avatar. You make it because you can't please everyone. So you need to understand who you're making videos. So for me, it's hard-working person who is on social media probably a lot. Nate, you on social media more times than you should be.
Nate sent me a list of questions because as part of my research, I actually did ask Nate because I always see him comment. He's really big in your Facebook group. And he sent me a list of questions like this. I have some of them peppered in here. I don't know exactly which ones are his. But
he would represent my audience really well because, again, the roofing industry is big. It's like, people don't realize how big, with the storm restoration stuff, it's a couple of $100 billion. It's bigger than country I was born in. Like the GPD of country I was born in is like $100 billion. Like the roofing industry is bigger than that. So it's a huge industry. You can't please storm chaser. You cannot make content for startup company and Apple roofing at the same time, but we all like similar stuff, so I'm not afraid to piss someone off as long as my target audience understand and likes it. Like when I call out people, will Nate Schweppe like it? Yeah, Nate Schweppe likes when I call out people, so I'm gonna keep doing it.
All right, okay, so that's helpful. What videos have you done that you regret?
I've done few I've attacked people personally. Like I called people like names. Like it was very personal, and I've actually took them down myself. Like I show character, like my weakness. Like I did not like what I said. I regretted it. I apologize a lot. Like my ego is not as big as people think. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care if you're employee, my wife, or my listener. I've apologized on the record for doing something and say, hey, I crossed the line, shouldn't say that. I took words back. But
who are some of the biggest people that we would know that you've done that with?
I don't even know. I mean, I always tell people, like, even like in my call out stories, I said, like, even Joshua Wexman back in the day, I said, Joshua, if you figure it out, I personally will apologize to you and we'll make it right. Like, actually, when I talk to them, I speak nicely. I say, like, listen, if we figure, oh, you know what, who? It was one guy, I did a video on him. I actually deleted the video. So the guy, this is a great example. So we put him in a magazine, and Mike Powers is the name. He is a contractor from Minneapolis. I call him a con artist. I interviewed 6 sales reps who had beef with him, accusing him not paying them. He has a couple lawsuits. He lost a couple, so he had to pay sales guys. And I've interviewed his sales reps, and I ran a story that 2Surf Contracting was name of the company. And that Mike Powers, like, I tried to reach him when I was doing the story. He was not responsive, so I aired interviews with the sales guys, and it was a bad story. It was obvious that he was not a good contractor. He was running 2 operations, one in North Carolina and Minneapolis from LA. But then he reached out to me and said, can we have lunch? Can we have dinner? I'm like, sure. So he flew from Minneapolis. I met him. He shared his story. He asked me if I can take content down. We shook hands. I apologized if I came across, like, too aggressive on him. I love his story, like, in person. Like, he was sober for like 10 years. I did not know the guy, right? And and I did reach to before, but he didn't reply. So I let other side first. And that's the problem. If someone is accusing you, the best thing you can do is to go on air and actually defend yourself, not to block the person or whatever. So I apologize to him.
Yeah, but not everybody has that skill set. Not everybody was raised the same way. Some people are afraid to, like,
sure,
fight or flight, right? You like to fight. Some people like to flight.
But when you are accused by your own employees, when people speak, you have to do the damage control. Because
sure,
if you don't reply, and I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about community, talking about you never look good by not replying. So Mike Powers would be one of the examples that I took the videos down. Actually, I took the video down, and one of the person who originally shared the story, he started attacking me. Oh, like, you're sold out to Mike Powers. I'm like, you think he offered me money? And now I'm a bad guy for taking the video down. I'm like, what did I do to you?
But here's the thing, though. I think a lot, especially in America, we think of the mafia, the New York City crime family. We also think Russia, KGB, extortion, and you just, I don't know, you kind of reek of that, sure, that mentality, because you grew up in that. You grew up in that world. So I think that a lot of us just assume that Dmitry sometimes can be bought.
You can try find one person. Listen, I don't. When I run stories and stuff,
or maybe you try to run stories to get, I don't know. I don't know, because I can just see how people can think that, right? That's all. And so here's the other thing I have a question about. What do you say to the people that say you run a lot of videos, or some of your suggested products or services change based on who your sponsors are? Because I think there's a little bit of a track record. Now, I didn't go watch everything and try to line it all up, but I had a few people tell me, ask them that question. What do you say to that?
All my sponsor for all the years, and if you're my sponsor, you know this. So I've had probably 20 companies I work with. You can't buy me. My name, my reputation is all I have. Never ever. So I don't have contracts with my sponsors. It's month to month, every single time. And here's why. So most marketers, most YouTubers, they want an agreement. They want 1 year, 12 months, right? I don't want it. As a matter of fact, I have returned, even last year at a conference, we have someone bought $10,000 booth at my event. Mm-hmm. And then I did a video. So it was a gutter company, and I did a gutter guide. So they're not paying me. They do come to the event, and they send me email, very nasty, from marketing director. So they are in the gutter guard. They are second from the top. And I speak highly of them. I actually lift up. I said, this is great brand, and I name them verbally. But they send me email, how disappointed they are because it was not their logo. You could speak more of them. And I was like, listen, you're not paying me. I hated the attitude. So I reply, I said, you don't owe me. I'm not in your pocket. You're not even paying me. You should be thankful for this. I don't appreciate attitude. And I expect you guys to, apologize for this email. This is very offensive. They're like, nope, we're not going to apologize. I said, how about this? I don't like your attitude. I'm going to send you a check for $10,000 back. I don't want you at my event.
Is that the one you were talking? I remember when you said that last year.
So think about this. Like, this is the most important thing for me. And all of my, actually, I'll give you another example. Atlas. So Atlas has been sponsoring our show for years.
They're trying to make a come up, man. I see they're doing like the Atlas Road Show. They got a bunch of, they must have a bunch of cash.
So check this out. So they've been sponsoring me like monthly for many. But when we have people were commenting about class action against one of their products, I run a story on it. Just because Atlas paying me or ICO is paying me, I
feel like roofing manufacturers are used to class action lawsuits. Just like you are used to cease and desist letters.
All my sponsors know that if they have a problem with their roofer, I'm going to be in the middle of it, and I'm not going to be silent about it. And that's what I tell to everyone. You can't. I promote the product. It's like what comes first. If I believe in, I only work with the brands that I love. I say no to 80% of the brands to come to me, both conference and as far as content. I don't work, like, how many website companies come to me? You know how many marketers come to me? If I genuinely don't believe you have a good product for roofers, I'm not putting you on my website because I have to guarantee you and I have to back you up. And if you have a claim, if you have a dispute with a roofer, I have to go back and serve you. That's why, even Tim Brown will tell you. So we work with him for a little bit. Hook agency, I recommend it. But if Tim Brown,
Tim, I need a little paid advertisement for that, man. I get money for that? Come on, man.
If Tim Brown has a dispute tomorrow about price, about quality, about leads, about delivery,
I'm not getting enough leads on my organic website traffic, man.
I'm gonna get called out. I'm gonna get a call, and me, Tim, and that roofer will be like, because and guess what? If I recommend Job Nimbus, if someone signs up with the Job
Nimbus, there's another plug.
Where's
the money at, man?
If they hate it, it always comes back at me. So I'm type of.
Well, that's easy to do because most roofers don't even know how to use a CRM. So I can't even imagine.
None of my vendors can control me or buy me or whatever, and I don't have contract with any one of them. I can drop them any moment. I'll give the money back or whatever.
How much? I'm always curious about this. How much do you get a check from YouTube for every month? Like actual YouTube, not brand deals, not sponsorships, like just for views. Like, is that how they pay you? Like based on how many hours of content people watch you every month? Like, can you give us an idea? Like what kind of check you get with that? Because I'm always curious.
I don't get paid right now $1. We got demonetized recently.
Wait, what happened? How's that work? Is that like a thing?
Yeah, it is a thing. So at the peak, the biggest check per month we have gotten was like $6,000 a month.
Oh wow!
So I would say $4,000 to $6,000 a month with our size.
Yeah, so it's still a lot of work to do before $6,000. It's still not worth it. But
yeah, it doesn't even pay.
How do you get demonetized though? Too much spicy content?
No. It's we started doing reels in June.
Like shorts?
Shorts. Yeah, shorts. And what happened is we were recycling shorts from someone. It wasn't copyright, but it was, so pretty much it was the weirdest thing. So they analyzed our channel. They sent us email say, hey, we're demonetizing your channel. You are using too much content that's not yours. So we were doing short per day, but it was like videos from the internet and stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing it.
Right.
And for us, it was roofing related content. Nobody filed copyright claim. But so we appealed it. So it's going to go maybe in December.
So could you just say, I don't want to do it anymore and they'll turn the money back on? Or are they pretty strict?
So they made us do the appeal, record 4-minute video, explain what your channel is about. We did all of that, and they still demonetized it until December 4th, I believe. So December we're gonna appeal again, but for like 3-4 months we couldn't do anything.
But they'll still let you at least make content. So that's good.
But YouTube is not a big revenue stream.
Sure, that's why I was just curious because a lot. I mean, most of us people, especially in the roofing industry, we just don't know because
$6,000 is the biggest check I've seen per month. So like $4,000 to $6,000. That's what it.
And like, what's Mr. Beast getting every month? Because like he's like got to be the best, right?
It's $60 million a year for him.
Wow.
So he does like $1 million per week.
That's wild. That's wild. He's incredible. All right, let's get into some of the good stuff. The controversy. You guys ready for this?
Can we get?
Yeah, let's. You want to take a pause? We can pause.
No, just need water.
Pause.
Go ahead.
All right, we're going to talk about some controversy. This is what everybody's tuning in for, right? What motivates you to be the roofing police, and what motivates you to be so controversial?
I don't think of myself as a roofing police. It just being me, I cannot ignore stories sometimes. Like see something, say something. Like because of my position, because I know what I can do. Sometimes I feel obligated. It's when you build audience, when you're in a position to help people to do something and you're not doing it, you're going to have a guilt about it. So you have to make a choice, like, do I run the story or I don't run the story? Do you talk about it or you don't talk about it? And for me, it's like, all right, someone have to do it. So I feel like oftentimes I speak what everybody's thinking, what on everybody's mind. And oftentimes we get comments like, finally someone says something about it. Because I know if I don't do it, many people would not do it, and I'm in a position to do it.
But like obviously, like drama and controversy gets more engagement, I think, especially in like the real talk. Now I know some of those product videos, you know, They're going to get plays out over time because people are doing searches and stuff. But where you get all the noise is like these spicy videos, right? How do you balance that and restrain yourself from naturally leaning towards more controversial stuff, just to kind of create more hype for yourself and more attention?
If you look at the numbers don't lie. People who say that all we do is like controversial videos is less than 10%. It's 5 to 10% max.
Somebody fact check him on that. Put it in the comments if he's lying.
If you go to our channel, if you actually watch any playlist, popular videos and stuff, you will see that. I mean, here's the problem with the internet in general. Here's the problem with the content. It's like people comment and engage on negative stories more. That's why news produce more negative, not positive, because what people watch. But now I blame actually the audience for that. You are guilty of that more than myself or any other content creator. I'll explain. So when I go to, let's say, Apple Roofing, like we went to Capilla Roofing, $40 million company.
You just want to go to Hawaii. Come on, man.
Like $20,000 trip, right? So you go in, you do 45 minutes, like amazing, like company who did not fire a single person since 2016.
You know why? They have a limited population who they can hire, man.
So check this out. Now I published that video and I have 28 likes and 3 comments. Right?
Because they're the good guys.
Yeah, they're good guys.
He's a sweetheart.
And then I call someone out, and everybody's like, "What's up with the negative comments, or negative content?" And now everybody's engaging, everybody's trending, and now everybody's accusing me to do something for attention. Well, if you are that person, go watch all my. I've done 100 company tours. Why I don't get a credit for them? Why people like, if you truly love that content, why you don't compliment that business owner or myself to create it? Because if you would engage more on the positive content and ignore negative, because people, here's the thing, I see the same people roasting me on every negative video, like once a month, right? And I'm like, why I don't see you on the positive? Why I don't see you say anything about 10 videos prior to this? If you like, for example, look at so let's say, go to timeline, look at Lee Haight fake guru video and watch 10 videos before that. So if you come to Lee Haight and say, well, you know, you're just roasting him for attention, and like Lee Haight video got 19,000 views and it's been there for like 3 months. But I've done 10 videos before that, and I promise you those are higher quality, amazing content for roofers. I mean, I know my content, but I don't get engagement. So why is that?
Well, I do think that I will say I remember watching that and the way that you leaked that out or released that, you know, in like a live, and you said like, hey, let's watch it. Yeah. Everybody's like tuning in, 10 minutes, countdown. Yeah. Everybody's excited. You do really know how to play it up. I will say the quality of your production on that video and a lot of others is really good for just like, you and your buddy, like, making some content. I mean, it really does look like Dateline NBC.
We have a big team. We have 3 video guys.
Well, no, that's what I mean. And it really is impressive, the quality. Regardless what people say about the content,
Sure.
I'm impressed with the quality because I know it takes a lot of work to make good content.
Thank you.
So I will say something good on that. Who are your biggest like haters that you see in those comments like consistently?
I mean, we're like storm chasers.
Like, what are their names? Like who? Like who do you consistently see that never comments on the good?
It changes.
But always comments.
I block people.
Oh, okay.
If I see,
Why do you block people? Why does it get to you?
it doesn't get to me. Just I don't want to like. There's no reason for like, especially Facebook.
Don't you feel like that's too much control? Like, why do you want to have so much control?
What do you mean?
Like control, like. I don't know, blocking people. Like you're gonna make all this content, and then like, why are you gonna block people on what they say? Let them just speak for themselves.
No. Like, so here's my rules for blocking.
Okay.
If you see the person who is constantly like, who put his life mission to roast you, why to engage with it? Like, why to keep coming back and coming back? If I see like, if you come to like, for example, like last video about shingles, there's a few ABC guys and they question me, they challenge me, they disagree with me. None of them are blocked. I'll answer, I'll reply. Like you can accuse me of stuff, I will reply. But when you start using words like, like start calling me Russian communism stuff. I mean, I have kids who read like, if you're super negative, if you take it on a personal level, and if you go on a mission to destroy me in comments, like I'm not in, like it doesn't get to me, but I also don't want to dwell on it because those people will never change. And that's my way of saying them, like, if you don't like this content, just don't watch it. Scroll down. You don't need to be here. Just like you have to manage your community. Like we have a choice today.
I hear you, but I think that that's what comes with what you do. And I think that I would challenge you on that a little bit. I think you should probably rethink maybe that.
Well, you can block people on YouTube. So YouTube, YouTube stays, but Facebook, you build your community. Like I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So roofing process conference, 5 years, nicest guys in the room, right? I want to surround myself with the positivity too. With
I feel like VCon. I feel like Gary V conference. Where everybody's like all chummy, everybody's excited, but it really is the same. It is a bunch of Nate Schweppes like just running around,
exactly.
And Ginos and Nates, and like it was
because those people who hate on you, they have like they'll go to win the storm or others. Like you have a choice.
Or you just name drop that conference. That's spicy there. Oh,
so you have a choice. You don't like my videos, you don't like the topic, don't engage. Like if you disagree, if I'm so bad, just stop following me.
Do you think there's some good people in the industry that are out there that are actually afraid to like even like talk to you because they're afraid that you might do a piece on them, even though like they probably did nothing wrong? Like, do you feel like that you struggle to maybe maintain good, healthy relationships with people in the industry because of that?
I don't know. I can't speak up for those people.
What do you think though?
Here's what I think. I think if you have something to hide, if you are afraid of an interview, you have to rethink about how you do business, not about the person who would interview you. I'm not afraid of any interview. I'm transparent. So if CEO of supply house is afraid to be interviewed or manufacturer, it's how they do business. They are too political. Like, ask yourself why people would be afraid of interview. Like, am I attacking people? Like for example, Lee Haight. When I interviewed Lee Haight, he was calling me names. Like, have you ever heard me in person, like raise my voice, argue, run over people? I come to people with questions. I write them down. If they lose control, if they want to fight me, if they raise voice on me, have you ever seen me? And I've done hundreds of interviews. Have you ever seen me react or to be after them or to be vindictive in any way, shape, or form? No. I'm the most professional interviewer there is. I'm always calm. I'm always prepared. I'm always respectful. But if you are afraid of the interview, if you're afraid to talk about something, I will call you out.
So I'm looking at it just like I'm trying to put myself in that position, and even before this, it's like because I had met you because when I came up to your place, I was still scared that first time. Just and nothing to hide, nothing to like. I'm just because it's Dmitry, right? Like, and it's like, yeah, it's like
maybe I have to work more on my image. And
yeah,
I have work to do. 100%.
Okay, because I think I just think it would go better for your brand to like have some more people be able to like kind of like me, like what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to build a bridge, right? Sure. Like everyone was like, oh yeah, you shouldn't give that guy airtime. Oh, like, are you, I said, cause they don't know. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to be authentic. And I even told my assistant, I was like, I mean, I got some crazy questions in here that she was like, man, you're going to ask him that? I mean, I showed this to my wife and she's like, you're going to ask him that? I said, yeah. I said, first of all, I can get away with it because like I'm a fun loving, personable guy and I don't have a fight in my bone. Like I don't have a fighting bone in my body. And I said, but it's still a little bit nerve wracking, right? Like again, and again, it could be the stereotype. It could be the Russian. It could be like the videos. It could be all the noise that's out there. But I do know that, listen, everybody's got a story. Everybody has the life behind the camera versus on the camera. I saw that. I know that because I enjoy content. And, even with Gary Vee, like Gary Vee's not nearly as loud and as obnoxious as you may think, like when you're just chilling with him and hanging out. Like he's just super chill, just like you are. So that's good. I think people need to see that. You often lose a lot of money. It seems like, I've had some lawyer bills in my day, whether a customer didn't pay, whether he had an issue somewhere. Legal fees can like really add up. I mean, like big time. Like what's the biggest check you ever wrote to a lawyer? Like even like in like 1 year, like what was the biggest?
Couple $100,000.
Woo! Dang. Why do you take on so much of that pain? Like, is it ego? Is it like, do you think that like you're smarter than everyone else? Or are you trying to prove somebody wrong? Are you trying to beat the system? Like, where's that come from?
Just being myself. Like when you're like, here's the advice to everyone about content game. You have to be you. You cannot pretend. I am who I am. I have a lot of work to do and I'm working on it, but at the end of the day, I am who I am. And you have to be true to yourself and you have to, like, I pick my stories and sometimes it's calculated risk. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know how not to.
What are some things you're working on? What are some things that you think that you're a little weak in that you would like to improve on about yourself?
Oh, a lot of things.
Just give me like the top two.
Biggest one is I want to be better boss, better communicator, how I treat my team. I feel like I've always been very good with the customers and very tough boss. Like I criticize my team more than I don't want to criticize my team. I want to inspire them. And like, that's my biggest weakness probably. Just realizing that, I could do better in the relationship at my workplace. Like that's my team. Like they deserve better. I treat really good my customers, but my team, I can be like the tough love. Like I don't like that. I'm working on that. Like my image being more like, maybe it's hard to explain. I watch my content too, and I got way better. Like if you watch me 5 years ago to today, like I try to smile more. I try to appeal to more people, but it doesn't come easy to me being Russian with my background, maybe with the past traumas and being hurt, like how I grew up and stuff. It all comes out. Like I work with a psychologist. I work with a lot of things. Like, I'm getting better and better, but there's no, just like in fitness, like there's no limit of what's final. It's never ending work. So my English, like, need a lot of work to improve on my English. So
does that bother you?
Less. Okay. It bothers me much less. Back in the day, like 3 years ago, I could film the video and immediately I can hear mistakes as I speak them, but all right, I'm not going to record it. It just goes in, like I'll do better in the next video. So it's getting better.
I think it's perfect. I'm just going to tell you because like it actually shows that you're Russian, very Russian, but it's still very good English. It's almost like an American trying to pretend like he's a Russian. And it's really, I think it's really good. So you should just.
Well, it got better. Like
Yeah. Oh, I could tell. I
ago.
saw some of the old videos when I was getting ready for this. I watched some of the old stuff and I was like, yeah, that's impressive that you've been able to get better at that. I appreciate you sharing that, man. Here's the other thing. Like, it seems to me, and again, this could just be a coincidence. You know, you have these companies, right? You have Directory, and you talk, you know, you really put down Angie's List and Home Advisor, right? You have, you know, you put down, you know, Win the Storm and Lee Haight's conferences, and you have your own conference, right? You have, now you're selling materials, and you just kind of came out with that video about the suppliers, right? What do you say to all that? Is it just coincidence, or are you trying to tear other people's buildings down to build your building higher?
Well, first of all, like, let's keep the record first. So you mentioned 3 companies, right? So I never ever said anything about Lee Haight's conference ever. Like, I
didn't say that you did.
No.
I just know, like.
I mean, just because
you guys have similar business models, okay? He's a content creator. He's got a conference. He's a teacher. He's got a roofing company. All right, like you guys have very similar.
But he's challenging me.
Okay,
he's coming
I'm just saying. But then also, I mean, I saw a lot of stuff about Win the Storm. I'm not saying that these aren't valid.
Sure.
You have valid points when I hear you.
No.
I'm just saying, but why do you? Is it just coincidence that you kind of nudge and poke the bear a little bit over here to like make your thing a little bit better?
Here's the timeline. There's tons of events in the roofing industry, right? So let's talk about that. So Lee Haight, Anthony Delmedic. So those 2 people, like, and in the video when I talk about Lee Haight being a fake guru, I said, like, I gave my stage to like 60 people. So I promote like 60 people. I call out 2. So I've never, like, if the strategy would be to bring others down, I would be calling Hunter Baloo's RoofCon down, or John Cena's, or other events. I never ever speak negatively about other events to raise my event. But just because I call out Delmedic or Crook one time does not mean that I have my conference to compete. Like, I don't ever talk about Win the Storm when I talk about the Roofing Process Conference. Like, I don't compare them. I don't, like, I've meant, like, I think people exaggerate amount of content. So, like, for example, last mention of Anthony Delmedic was probably 2 years ago, and even that video was my take on what happened with him at that time. And that video was, and before that it was probably another 2 years. So in 4 years I mentioned him one time, but that's all people remember. Lee Haight, I mean, I've have over 5 years. I have like 5 interviews with him. I've been in his office. I've been in his, like, 2018 was the first interview. I've been in his office 2020 company tour. Lindsay Douglas, when she came up accused, I interviewed her, and I interviewed his reply. And again, in 5 years, I've been always, Lee Haight been asking me to speak at his event for 5 years and to come to my event. And for 5 years, I've been saying, no, like, you're not the speaker on my stage. I'm not going to do it. So
he did have a pretty cool stage, man. He had some pretty big speakers at his conference.
And I have no problem with that. But like the recent fight within the last 6 months, just because I call him fake guru after 5 years.
Well, do you think that's clickbait? That term fake guru? Like, do you feel like
absolutely not?
All right, just checking.
So
just checking.
And
also about Anthony, and I've never met him because I'm not a storm guy. So like just now, since I'm traveling the country, I'm learning a little bit more about this whole storm world, which sometimes I think, God, that I'm not a storm guy, because that's the Wild West. I'd probably still be in not the best place. But I heard that and again, this is all hearsay. I heard that he's changed his life around, and like that he sold the conference, and that, you know, he's been making some amends. Do you think that had anything to do with maybe you bringing that to light?
I don't know. I don't talk to him.
Okay.
I mean, I always offer, like, if Delmedica wants to do another interview, I'm open book. Let's go. Like,
I think you guys should do that. I think that would be good.
I'm game. Angie's List, the same thing. Angie's List was my biggest disappointment in life. So actually,
what do you mean by that? Biggest disappointment?
So I was on Angie's List. I was Angie's List
as a roofing contractor. So that was your biggest.
I have over 700 reviews on Angie's List. So when I met Angie Hick, I was at her conference. Like in 2018, it was devastating. So I always call out Home Advisor. Since like 2014, 2015, I hated Home Advisor with a passion. Loved Angie's List. And then Home Advisor buys Angie's List. Within 3 months, removes Storm Group from it. Like, we got legal paper like saying you can't be Like I have a theory that they bought them to. I'm just kidding.
Dmitry, your head's so big it's not going to be able to get out the door.
It was a joke, but no, like they sent me a letter that you cannot be on Angie's List anymore, and and I started director in 2020. So I figured like what I did, like dude, my bill for development bill is like $30,000 a month for the past couple of years. So I put close to $1 million in development, and I do mention Angie's List as like if Angie's List would not sold out and would not change, I still probably would do business with them. Director would never be born, but the problem was so big. So for me, it's always you see the problem, but I don't want to be talker. Like, yeah, here's the problem. Win the Storm is a bad conference or whatever the case. Like, can we do better? I want to have conference like this conference. Well, I went and created it, but after I created it, the business model is not to keep talking about that. Like, yeah, I mean, like people know that I don't like it, but I don't focus on it. People do. People exaggerate amount of content I actually have done. Yeah, I don't like Delmedico, and I have my own conference. But does it mean that, like, show me my ads or show me what I do to promote my conference? Like, I don't mention him ever. Like, for 2 years, I don't. Like, my last video about Delmedica, years ago. So this, and anyway, and the last one with materials.
Will you support the conference now that it's under new ownership?
I have to look.
I was just curious. I don't know. I don't know anything about it either. I was just curious.
And the last one, underlayments. So for the past couple of years, we have all the like.
It's fascinating to me, by the way, that you sell building materials because I think now you're just getting out of control. I personally think I'm gonna have a hot take on this. Sure. Like, dude, just like, can't you just like pick one thing? And I know you're trying to monetize your audience, right? But like,
it's not even that.
What do you mean? Like, come on, man. What do you mean it's not even that?
It's business. So
you're taking care of Nate Schweppes over the world, right? Sorry, Nate. I don't know if you're buying off him or not.
First of all, I'm an entrepreneur, right? Just because I have a YouTube channel doesn't mean that I'm not going to go and create business. Like,
sure.
How many businesses Mark Cuban has?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like,
as a content creator, like Mr. Beast is in a chocolate factory.
Okay, but
business
Mr.
now.
You shouldn't even. But Mr. Okay. But you and Mr. Beast are in two totally different worlds. Mr. Beast has $100 million and thousands of people probably can help him.
What?
I'm not. Here's
how
the
is
thing.
it different?
All right, because I think in business, like to be really successful, you should focus on one thing, get it to a point to where it can run on its own, and I don't know. It seems to me that like, you got your conference, you're selling building materials, you got directory trying to blow up and get it off the ground. You got the roofing school, you got this new marketing.
They all complement each other.
And I'm not saying they don't. They also take a lot of work and focus. So are you teaching these Nate Schweppes of the world and these contractors, these guys that are hard workers, are you teaching them, well, if Dmitry can start 5 businesses, is that good for me? Because I think that's dangerous because where focus goes, energy flows. And if you can't focus on 5 things, I don't believe it.
I put my label on, like, think about this. Like with underlayment business, I have a partner who runs it. It's my name on it, but I'm like professional athlete. Like, think about Michael Jordan.
It's like an affiliate agreement almost. It's it's a marketing agreement. So
think about Michael Jordan and Jordan shoes. Is Michael Jordan in the shoe business or like one of the greatest things ever?
I understand that. I just think that it can be a little bit dangerous for other entrepreneurs who follow you and look up to you to be like, all right, Dmitry's starting this, Dmitry's starting that, Dmitry's starting that.
It's almost like and close them. I also the person who sold the roofing business. I also
you won't tell me how much though. We already figured that out. You won't tell me how much.
I also
must not been a lot.
Even with the roofing school, June 1st this year, I announced like I started taking calls with the students. Like before I open next one, I manage my time really well. If I do something else, I'm gonna close one of the doors.
Yeah, and now you're a professional boxer, and now this is a whole other thing that's distracting you. You're having to train for it. Let's get into what everybody tuned in for, right? Lee Haight, okay, and how does fighting Lee Haight like change or improve the perception of the roofing industry, like internally, externally? Like no one has any idea why this is even happening. It's kind of silly.
Why does it has to be about roofing industry? Why I cannot do something for myself?
Well, because you broadcasted it on a channel that's called Roofing Insights, and you're a media person. It's almost like you're turning into like Donald Trump or Don King, and it's all about Dmitry. It feels like it's a lot about Dmitry.
So why Mark and Elon is gonna do it?
Okay, you are comparing yourselves to
no, but why? Like,
are they really gonna do it? I don't think that'll ever happen. I think that was just a little social trolling a little bit.
Why did they do it though?
I mean, I don't know if they even actually did it. I think maybe someone started. I don't think they stopped it. I think that everyone's going to take
I'll answer about Lee Haight. So actually it's a funny story. It's a cool story. So I always wanted, you have a bucket list. I have a bucket list. On my bucket list, I had a cage fight. About 5-6 years ago, I talked to my wife. I'm like, babe, I want to. So my wife's cousin was a MMA fighter, like in Minneapolis, like David. So we watched a couple of his fights. He has like 5-7 fights. And I told my wife, that's what I want. I want a thrill. Like growing up, I fought a lot of guys like on the street and stuff. And watching, Hollywood movies, like it's inspirational. To watch someone prepare for the fight, it's mental challenge. There's so many aspects. And I consider myself athlete. And I wanted to try it. So I told my wife, I want to train. I want a one cage fight. The conversation was like 5-7 years ago. I talked to my pastor about it. I talked to my wife. My wife is like, this is stupid. You should not do it. You have 5 kids. Don't do it. And it never went away. Like it's always like being, just that thrill. You want to do something. It's just like some people want to jump from the parachute. For me, it was a fight in a cage. So when I interviewed Lindsay Douglas, so Lee Haight wanted to fist fight me. He actually, right outside the restaurant, he was drunk, like in my face. And, I'm going to, in that scenario, I'll do everything to avoid the fight. But he was keep challenging me every year. Like last year, before BDR, so he did the Best Number Roofer fight. Before that, he was asking me to do it. He's like, let's do it for marketing, let's do it to 10 people, right? So he's been challenging me for years. But then after recent interviews, he got so pissed. And he's like, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to come to you. If you're not going to do it, I'll pour water at you. I'll come to your office with the boxing gloves. You will fight me. So he was like threatening me like crazy. And finally I said, you know what? You have yourself a fight. Let's fight it, but let's do it like not MMA. I'm a CrossFitter. You're an MMA fighter. Meet me in the middle. Let's do boxing. Let's do it. I'm not afraid of you. I always wanted to do it. Like you're a perfect opponent. And I said, let's do it. That's it. So I do it because it's my personal decision. It's my character. Of course, I'm going to broadcast it. And you know why? Because thousands of people wants to see this fight. But I am not making it as roofing fight. I'm not fighting for the cause. I'm not fighting to prove the point.
You did say you're going to fight and you wanted there to be a purse and you're going to take that purse and you're going to give it to all the salesmen.
No.
Did you not say that?
He said it. He said, if you fight me, I'll give you $60,000.
Sure.
And I said, and I'll pay, if you give me $60,000, I'll give you $60,000 to the person who have dispute with you.
So you don't have to put up any money either? Like you guys aren't both putting money up? No? I don't know how this fight stuff works. I'm a little ignorant to it. But he really is putting up 60 grand?
No.
Oh, no. So there's no money going to be exchanging hands. No. And that's already solved, and that's good. It's just going to be just an amateur. It's going to be an amateur fight, and it's just going to.
So we found the venue. So next thing I know, I said, I'm not coming. He wanted me to come to Tampa. I said, I'm not coming there. That's just not fair. Let's do something in the middle. I don't expect you to come in Minneapolis.
Man, it's just a ring, dude. Like, what do you mean it's not fair? It's not like you think there's like a home field advantage or something?
No, he wanted to do like literally like his venue, like where he's working out and all of that stuff. Like his crowd,
I don't know.
I
don't know. Is it like basketball or football? Like you can't like just. All right.
No, it's just
neutral. You need a neutral. You need a neutral ground.
Like in the middle. So you're not in control. I'm not in control. It's not like your judge or your like whatever. Like,
is this thing really happening?
Yes, 100%.
It's really happening. Because for a while there,
January 20th, it's really happening. So Raymond Wendell.
Yeah.
So, he actually reached out.
That dude is awesome, by the way.
He is. So
is he friends with both of you? Is that how this is working?
So he reached out. Like, I know both of you. Let me organize it. I actually sponsor fights.
So he's the Don King.
Yes. So he did the whole thing. I'll take it. So I accepted the fight, and then everybody's like, what does it solve? What does it have to solve anything? I do it for myself. I do it because it's the right thing to do. Someone challenged me for the fight. He is a perfect opponent for me. You know, I don't have hate. I don't like people think, oh, you hate. Like, no, I don't have emotion. Like, I don't agree with him. I hate his business style. I hate I hate how he behaves with his sales reps and disputes he has. Like, I hate all of that.
You know, a lot of people hate the way you do content too, right?
100%.
All right, just making sure. Just making sure you know that.
100%. And I'm not trying to please everyone. But the thing is, I don't hate the person. Like, I'll shake your hand. Well, like, let's do it. You want to fight me? Let's fight. It doesn't have to prove anything.
How many people are going to be there?
I think 900 people is what.
How much are tickets selling for?
They're not expensive. Like $50 is so VIP table is like $1,400. It's NFC. So
you giving away tickets at your conference to like get people there? Like how's this?
It's nothing to do with the conference. It's
yeah, I know, but you're a promoter. So like, are you going to promote this fight at your conference? Are you going to try to get contractors to go to this?
This venue will sell it for. So NFC is national like fight and like where I was. So there's 7 fights that night.
Sure, more people are going to go see those people than they're going to go
Probably.
see you, right?
Like this event doesn't need to be promoted.
How many roofers do you think will be there?
A lot. I mean, first of all, Atlanta is a huge market, so there's a lot of roofers in Atlanta.
Okay, it's a great place to fly into because it's easy to fly into.
Yeah, so I mean, probably 500-700. I don't know. I know roofers wants to do it. I know roofers.
Do you think this is going to start a trend? Do you think anybody else is going to set up a match, or is there anybody else that's going to fight? Like, listen, is Tim Brown and Joseph Hughes going to go like head to head or something like that?
Here's the good rule: how to make content and how to do stuff. Right? I do videos that I would like to watch myself. And I do and with this boxing match, it's the same thing. If someone that I follow would box each other, I would go and watch because it's fun. It's nerve wracking if you're in the ring yourself, but you know, I'm underdog big time. He's been doing it for many years. He's younger, he's lighter. I don't know. We'll see.
Here's what we're gonna do. I got more stuff to ask you about, but I know everybody wanted to hear about Lee. They got Lee. We're going to pause here and we're going to make a second video. And we're going to talk about, when we come back in the next episode, we are going to talk about this whole greedy supplier thing, because that is the talk of the town right now. I mean, kid you not, I thought Lee Haight was big news. I think Lee Haight just got like, that thing got small, bro, just so you know. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about your family a little bit with your kids and your wife and what it's like to be you and like have to do, have your kids watch you be you, and like how do you feel about that? I'm going to ask you a little bit about directory, but then I also want to get your thoughts on the future of roofing, and then a little bit to hear more about your personal stuff, like where you want to be in 10 years, 20 years, how do you want to be remembered, things like that. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you got value out of this episode, which I hope you did, I did for sure. Follow us so that way you can get the next episode of Dmitry. We're going to go back to back so that way you get 2 episodes of Dmitry. Thanks for being here, brother.